Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, a little bit of an editing masterclass. We're gonna lock in our drums and bass. I have a video on my channel that goes over all of the different editing tools we have available, but I never really followed that up with a full video on how a pro would edit. So what we want to do is we want to make things consistent and we want to lock our timing in. So we're going to be using a bunch of those tools that we went over in that old video and some of the updates that are in Studio One version 6 or whatever you're using. All of the tools are there and you can do this in older versions of Studio One as well. So now let's start class. Let's dive into the DAW. This video is brought to you by timflansbaum.com. Yes, I want to work with you on your project. Whether you're looking to offload the mixing or mastering of whatever you're working on, or you're actually looking for Studio One lessons, head over to timflansbaum.com, fill out the form, and let me know what you're looking for, and we can get going from there. Now, let's get back to the video. Okay, so here is the jazz funk fusion song that I'm going to be working on, and on its own, without doing any editing, here's how it sounds. I should note that the drums are just stereo drums. This is how the song was delivered to me, and it's what I have to work with. And I know that we have a DI bass that was played by a session player, which was actually the son of one of the members of the band. He plays bass, he jumped in to add the bass onto this song. So that's what we have. We have one whole take of this song, and we just need to tighten it up and make sure that we're hearing things the way we want to hear it. And this will just be a snippet. We're not going to go through the whole song, but I'm going to show you some of the process that I would do. So let's get right into it. Okay, before we actually start chopping up this bass, it's important to take a listen to what you're working with to find and listen for some of the problems that you want to address. And you're going to be doing this a lot during your editing process. So the first keyboard shortcut that I want you guys to know is Alt or Option if you're on a Mac, and number pad 0 will turn on or off, and it's down here in the play button, return to start on stop. This control, if you hit play from this point and then hit stop or hit spacebar again later on, it'll come back to bar 2. But turning this off with Alt and numpad 0 will now say, well, when I hit play and I hit stop, just resume from there. And in editing, sometimes we want that. So I'm going to be going back and forth between those two modes a lot. When I hear a problem, I'm going to turn it back on, go back a bit, and make my adjustments, and then hit play. And then as it's going, if things are cool, I'll turn it off and only turn it back on when I need it again. Another thing is I use the Smart tool or the Link tool or whatever you want to call this. So I have the arrow here and I have the range tool selected. And then my secondary is going to be the split tool. So that means if I come anywhere to the top half of my region, I am going to get the split tool. But you're going to notice because these are out of time, I'm probably not going to be using the split tool. I'm actually going to unlink and I'm going to hit N on the keyboard to do that, the grid. I'm going to toggle snap off. I don't want that because, for example, I can see it right now. This note looks like it's not in time. There's a hit here and it's a little early. So I would just grab this section here, Alt X on my keyboard, that clips it. And now I can do Control and Alt and slide this around if I want to do some slip editing. Or if it's way off, I can release those modifiers and just drag this file around wherever I need to. Maybe it needs to lock into the grid right here. I can slide it around that way. Okay, I've put everything back to the way it was, and instead of doing the whole song, we're just going to start from the verse and we'll go up until, let's say maybe the chorus. That's going to give us a good 15, 20 bars of music to listen to and to edit. And really what we want to do is we're going to concentrate on the bass. We want their timing to lock in with the kick drum or just the beat in general. And then we want consistency in these notes. If something is maybe not hit hard enough or I want to bring it out, I'm going to bump it up using the event edit and add 3 dB of gain. Or if something's too much, I'm going to drop it down 3 dB, and I can use these as much as I need to. Okay, let's start our editing. Most importantly, let's listen. Immediately, this little pickup note feels a little off to me, so I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to highlight my range. That's why I use the Smart tool. I'm going to highlight my range from the top half. Now I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to hit X on the keyboard. That's going to clip my region. The timing felt off to me. So I'm just going to adjust it. I feel like it wants to kind of line up a little bit before where it actually hits. I feel like it's late. So let's go and hold down Control and Alt. I'm going to slide this just a little bit forward. Now, yes, I am pulling the audio and I have all of this information here, but that's why we can adjust those bounds. And now when we put our fades in, by hitting X on the keyboard, I have a nice clean edit. But I'm not going to do my crossfades now. I want to edit everything and then just do once at the very end. So I'm going to ignore crossfades right now. And then of course, the most important thing is listen. I didn't have the return to start on, so I'm behind it. I'm going to go right back to, let's say, just before bar 9, engage going back to start, and let's take a listen to this note to see if it locks in better. Again, I'm just going to kind of nudge this note a little bit forward. Alt and X, Control Alt, just nudge it a little bit forward. And now let's take a listen. I heard another one. This one's a little bit late and you can see it here. Where I want it is where I'm going to start my edit. So I want it pretty close to this grid point. And I'm going to go right to the next note, or maybe in between. Alt, X, here's my new clip. Control, Alt, just kind of bump this a little bit forward. Roll back, let's take a listen. See, now it feels a little rushed to me. Let's just undo and put it back to where it was and see if maybe we went too far. This is why using Alt and numpad 0 is really important, because very quickly you could make these decisions, jump back, listen, make your adjustments, listen again. That's why very fast I'm going to be going Alt and numpad 0, and you guys aren't even going to see or hear it happen, but I am doing it a lot. See, now let's try the other way. It feels almost too rushed now. Control, Alt, slide it just a little bit back, and then let's take a listen. And sometimes it really is just micro adjustments, just the tiniest bit forward. All right, so here's the first one I'm going to do this way. These notes here, I felt like were not played as strong as they could have been. So I'm going to make my selection, clip it out, and instead of adding 3 dB, I think that's going to be too much. I'm just going to clip gain it up a dB. I do that by going to this mid square here, click and hold, and if I press Shift now while I'm holding the mouse, I have fine adjustments, and I can go by 1/10 of a dB in any direction. I just want this up a little bit more, so I'm going to go about a dB louder, 1.1. That's totally fine. So now if we roll back, we're going to hear more consistent volume playing through our bass with our note changes. All right, did you hear it? We had a note that was choked off just a little too early. So now I know it's this note right here. We're going to do something completely different. We're going to go here and trim the ends like we've been doing. But instead of adjusting our bounds from the bottom, what we can actually do is roll this back to about the end of the note. So I went to the top half of the event and just dragged my edit back a little bit. And now I'm only going to use one modifier on my keyboard, and that's the Alt key. Now we're going to time stretch. And I'm just going to stretch this note out just a little bit longer to fill in the gap of it getting choked out. Now take a listen to this one, and we'll do a quick before and after. And we could do the same thing for the note following, which is actually a little too long right now. Take this note, hold down Alt, squeeze it in just a little, and then we can pull back our information from the event in front of it and have a seamless edit, once we do our crossfades, of course. All right, here's another example of things that I want to adjust. These sections of notes here, I'm going to split twice. I want all of them to be just a little bit louder, so I'm going to give them about a dB. That's perfect. But then that second section, I'm going to split again. So I know he does 2 notes here, and I want them to kind of articulate just a little bit more, and we can do that with just volume. So I double clicked at the top half of the event here, and it put in another cut for us. Now here, I'm just going to give about another dB of volume to this little fill or this little double note line here. Okay, there's one more section where I really want to show you guys why I feel comfortable and have no problems going in and adjusting event volumes. Listen to this set of notes here. There's another little, there's another little section right at the end where there's a fill before the next set of notes. And I'm losing that, especially in just this stripped down mix, which is just drums and bass. Listen to it before. There's a little bit of drum activity going on at the same time. And I don't want the drums to overpower this because it's a cool little fill. So let's just select this region and we'll give it a little bump. And I'm going to use my eyes now to kind of make it the same amplitude as the note next to it, because I know it needs to bump forward. And we added 2.3 dB. We're really not adding a lot. So take a listen now. So what we're actually doing is helping those accents on the drums by bringing the bass a little bit louder. We're re-emphasizing those hits on the drums. This is the level of editing that we get to as we go further and further into our career. We go in making sure we have consistent notes, making sure our timing is locked in, and using all of the tools we have available to us that you can use in any DAW. Every modern DAW has pretty much all of the same things where you can go in and you can definitely slice all of your audio. Yes, that's just the most basic. But almost every DAW has some form of event, clip, or gain adjustments during the editing process. And because we're working in a digital world, none of these things are destructive. If you ever needed to, you could just go back in and from the very beginning of your event, make a tiny little edit and then drag out the original and you can redo. But my suggestion is actually to use layers or playlists and duplicate as you go. When you're just starting, here's your raw, cool, duplicate that and then edit it. When you're done, you've done all your slicing, your time aligning, your amplitudes, and all of your crossfades at the very end. Then duplicate the layer again and then bounce it. Then you have your complete version, your edit version, and your raw version. This way, at any step, you can go back and make your adjustments. Nothing is destructive. This is digital audio we're talking about. I hope this showed you just a little bit of the process that you go into when we're doing our edits. Now, yes, it's not everything, and every instrument and every production is different, but this shows you some of the different minor details that can definitely be heard and something to think about as you're working through your productions. Those bass notes may have gotten hidden, or maybe the compressor that we're going to put on later, if we need to, is going to be working more consistently, more steadily, more correctly, because it's not blasted by something that's super loud and crushing the signal, and then maybe the release is too slow and the next notes come in and you don't hear them because they're compressed, but they were played really quietly. As we do our editing, we counter all of that because our events are closer to where we want them to be, and the compressor is just listening to the balanced or more consistent audio file or take. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. You want to talk editing? Cool. Jump into the Discord or leave a comment with your questions. I'd love to work with you on your next production so you can get the same kind of treatment this song will get. Let's get that started at timflansbaum.com. And if you have a question, ask it in the comments and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.